Defiance Daily Show with Roberts and Pruitt. Our interview with Stewart Rhodes. Brought to you by our proud sponsors. Global Credit Repair Network with 20 years of experience. Orcus Firearms for all of your ammo, weapons, and tactical gear needs. And Defiance Press and Publishing, the world's largest independent conservative, made in the USA publisher. Roberts and Pruitt proudly bring you episode 3 of the Stewart Rhodes interview here on the Defiance Daily Show. Find them on Rumble.
More people will be
more targets.
Yeah, more people being entrapped or what? So that's not a concern.
It's almost like a battle decision. Do you re-strengthen before you do that decision? And you don't really have a timeline to do it, but you don't want to wait too long, right?
Right. I mean, like I said, the mission is to defend the Constitution.
Right.
You know, if you look at our old bylaws, that's all it says. What's our mission? Defend the Constitution. Because that's what our oath was. It should be nothing inconsistent.
Would you ever consider?
So whatever means necessary, that's what I'm going to do. So,
what if that would mean you had to be put in office or something? Would you do it?
Yeah, I'd do it.
You do it?
Yeah, only for that reason though. But it'd be a pain in the ass. I've already
No reason. It's the people that don't want to do it that should do it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've said that for a while. It's like you picked our gentleman that was on the run. He went and picked somebody. Much less likely to get a traitor if you go and pick them, pull them out, and have them help you, than if you wait for someone to come to you.
Right.
Come to you, they're going to be a bad guy, probably.
Yeah. Because most of the people that gravitate towards those positions,
Well, most of them are sociopaths.
they by nature.
Yeah, and that's been I've known a lot of anarcho-capitalists, like a lot of hardcore libertarians, or, that kind of anarchist. And I told them, I said, you're missing an argument the guy should be using. I said, what's that? I said, well, the problem with government is that it self-selects for sociopaths. That's who's drawn the power. That's who wants that kind of power enough to go through the crap and the living in a fishbowl. Who else would want that?
The attention seekers.
Well, they want power.
Yeah.
So your average lawyer tends to be someone like that too. They gravitate towards positions of power.
Bless you.
God bless you.
Same thing with churches.
Yeah, sadly.
Same thing with churches, man.
That's why you need lay ministry is better, right?
Yeah. Same thing happens in churches.
Mark was telling me that Dad said if there was what was it?
He said, we talked about it quite often. If somebody has a fish on their business card, we don't do business with them.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wearing
If
the
you have to
sleeve?
tell me you're a Christian.
Absolutely. Because he said, those are the guys that screw me every time. And it's true. And
Your dad did it?
yeah. And I agreed with him. Here's the difference. I'm not saying I'm against Christians. I'm a Christian. What I'm saying is there's a lot of posers
said
out there.
that?
Oh, yeah. Dave said it quite often.
That's what
I believe
when
that.
Lloyd was saying, because we had dealt with some issues.
Yeah.
And one of them involved every time we get together, and it was somebody that owed a lot to my mom. Just pray with me first.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know.
Absolutely.
So every
And
time
It's a
Lloyd-
manipulation.
Whenever says
I
some-
told
whenever
him
sa-
about that. I said, this
Yeah.
guy's like, Bob's helping me with this case where the guy says he doesn't have to pay me because Dave passed away.
And
Lloyd
it's-
said
it's
that.
people
Lloyd
with
says
the-
whenever someone comes to me and they're like, "Well, pray with me," but hold on. Hold on
Yeah,
to this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on to you got a bill folder. Hold on to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming.
But people misconstrue that. They think, oh, so you're just against. You and I pray together.
You can actually feel it when it's happening.
Well,
that
it's.
it's not real.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people do. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing in politics. It's the same thing in churches. It's the same thing.
It's a prop.
Because these sociopaths, they've got a sixth sense, man.
It's their manipulation technique.
Absolutely. And they sense it and they feel it and they go in and that's what they do. And people fall for it.
Someone like that.
Yeah, we all do, man.
Yeah.
They're
I feel like
everywhere.
I always say those are the people that if
I know a few of them, but I know one in particular that
Yeah, we won't name any names.
talked about lately
Yeah.
who will say, "I'm a Christian."
Okay,
But every
well.
time I'm like, "Why do you keep saying that to me?"
Yeah.
I mean, I never.
I mean, if I give my
thought to say
testimony about how I got through solitary for a year, that's one thing. But to open the conversation with this, speaking of the Christian.
Yeah. Oh, man.
one of the big red flags to me is You know, if I have someone over at my house and they volunteer themselves to say grace at my table,
Right, yeah.
only the head of the household or who's in
Should be
that
doing
house,
that,
you should,
yeah.
you want to volunteer somebody else, that's one thing.
Right.
You volunteer yourself, it's like,
Yeah.
watch that person,
I agree. Yeah.
watch
Oh,
them,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they're telling you everything right
yeah.
there.
We didn't do that test this morning for breakfast. No one said
Yeah,
grace.
oh yeah, we didn't do
Yeah.
that. I mean,
I was waiting for you.
I said it on the inside.
But yeah, you're right. The guy that, and that's like Christ said in the New Testament, you know, you should pray in the closet.
Yeah.
Don't stand in the street corner where the Pharisees want to be seen and be
And
given
a cup.
props and, you know, they're
And
running
an
around
empty cup,
when you're
yeah.
fasting, running around and looking like you're, oh, I'm fasting. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want everybody to know about it. No one should know. No one should know you're giving. No one should know you're praying.
I've always believed, you know, I'll be honest, because I haven't, you know, studied a lot of the Bible, but a lot of the teachings and everything's been close to me for a long time, because I feel like when you're on certain paths, you do get signs. They're not meant to be shared. Nobody's going to understand where they're coming from.
Right.
But it's like, man, you're doing something right. And you'll just see something or something will connect and you go,
Yeah, things
Oh
fall.
my God.
Things fall into place. Doors
Like,
open on their own.
you just can't make that kind of stuff up. But I feel like when you start sharing it, it loses its value, or it just,
When President Trump was saved, I think that was a divine intervention.
yeah.
That
But that was a
Yeah, right
revealing
here.
onto us, you know, that'd be, if he had a moment like that in private that nobody knew about and he's out there talking about it, but
Right, that's true.
Trump did the,
That was out in the open.
man, I wish I had a way to, we're gonna fix that internet, mama, but it'd be nice to stream up. I wonder if I could do that, because we were watching some of the video from him sitting there with Zelensky
Yeah, I saw a little
and
bit
the
of that.
body posture, and he's
showed me a
sitting in
little
there.
bit of that.
He's like he looks like a trust fund kid
Yeah.
at the table whose money's been cut.
I'm entitled. I can't believe you're
I'm
questioning
entitled.
me.
You're supposed to take
Right.
my side.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to win this war. You're
Right.
supposed to give me the money so I can keep funding. You
Right.
know, what was the death count last time we did the show on
shit.
Ukraine and Russia?
Like
think they had it
hundreds and
around-
hundreds of thousands. It's 200,000,
I think it was around 300 total.
300,000.
including
It's
Well,
On which side?
and you would, yeah, that's what I'm, so the less, Ukraine is reporting only like 70.
70,000?
Russia's, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I believe that, but especially when you're having to force older generations. I mean, some of those videos, I don't know if you saw that one last
They're like
episode.
Germany at the end of World War II. They're forcing. the
They're
older-
forcing old men to go fight in
Yeah.
these wars. they're
And-
putting
and
them in
retards.
vans And they're taking them out of their homes.
many
And you
missions
can
does
see their
Zelensky been
wives
on?
screaming. And
How many missions has Zelensky himself been on?
oh he
None.
oh,
Yeah. He walks around, he dresses like he's a soldier or something.
Yeah.
He's
So-
a freaking comedian. That's all he is.
do you know anything about that history, supposedly about him being an actor or something like that?
He
was a
100%
comedian.
was an
He was a
actor.
comedian.
Yeah.
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 Really?
Yeah.
played a piano with his penis.
Yes, you've never
No,
seen
no,
that?
no, 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 no.
Really? See, this is why I
You haven't seen
know
it?
with Mark. I'm sorry, man.
He's
That's
awesome.
okay.
Yeah,
I
he
deserve
dresses
it.
like a lady.
No,
Hold
no.
on.
So you know.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Hands free?
No, no, no. Yes. So he's standing. No, I am not. You can pull it
Time
up.
out. Are you
Uh,
kidding me?
No, 100%. I've seen it.
Oh, you see
Okay, let's flush that out.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah, yeah.
What was his technique like? Pretty good.
He's standing behind.
He's
So,
standing, you can't.
but you
can't
see, he's pulled his pants
He's
down.
like-
Yeah.
and he's on stage, and there's a
Yeah.
whole audience and everything.
No, it's obvious. No, he's playing. He's tickling the ivories with his wanka.
This tickler.
So doesn't that kind of go to, you know, who these people are that get to these positions? I always think of Kamala Harris in a similar fashion. When she had, when Montel Williams came out and he had both those women.
She didn't play, she played the flute.
She played the flute.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Yeah, I
the,
got
the skin flute.
Yeah, she's very.
flute.
She
Okay,
played the
Maureen,
flesh.
you gotta
The
make it-
flesh.
you gotta go for it.
Monica Lewinsky.
Well, I've got to be very clear. I've got to be very clear here. I've got to be very clear because
Student flute, everybody.
some people think, you know, some people might think it's a brass instrument, and they go, no, it's not brass.
But where do these people come from that come to these positions? None of them, it's not a,
Oh, he was placed
But
in that.
by the way,
these people are
Yeah.
definitely groomed and placed in these positions.
okay,
Look at
in
Barack
the-
Obama.
okay, that's what.
Answer in Canada.
the-
You know what it is.
Some
The-
unknown senator out of Illinois.
By the way,
even his rise to the Senate, right, in Illinois was
Community organizer.
by the way,
organizer, yeah.
by the way, that's what I was wanting to say, and you nailed it. You beat me to it because you're good. that has just resurfaced this last week, the whole,
Oh, right.
the birth certificate. In fact, somebody came across the old, remember the press conference that Sheriff Joe and Mike Zulo did after they got back from Hawaii?
Investigator, yeah.
Okay, apparently that has now gone re-viral on Twitter with almost 10 million views this last week. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she reposted it, got 3 million hits. There's a ton of people that have not seen this. And by the way, I called Marjorie Taylor Greene's office, said, hey, we need to talk. She hadn't called me back yet. You got connections there, Stewart? Okay, all right. Well, anyway, moral story.
I have no connections to any of these politicians.
What y'all are talking about, Barack Hussein, we don't know who this guy is. We don't, and by the way, do you know the only place on the planet where the whole investigation is lined out in writing? Do you all know where that exists? There's only one place.
Whole investigation of what?
Of the Barack Obama birth certificate.
Where?
At Defiance Press.
It's Sheriff Joe's book.
Okay.
It's the only document. It's the only document on the planet that
Trying to
goes.
start pushing that out again.
Well, that's what we're doing, but there's a whole chapter devoted to that, and it's fascinating. I mean, it literally.
Joe's he's a real good guy, man. He's
I've met him.
I admire him a lot in his age and his tenacity.
I like his
Bless
posse.
you.
His
Bless your heart.
posse
You're
was
allergic to
the-
something in
that
here.
was the
Is it me?
benchmark that I used whenever talking
Really?
to the sheriff.
Oh, that hurt.
Sheriff
That
Joe's
cut
got a
deep.
3,000 man posse.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and he had
I was
his
teasing.
search
thought
and
we were
rescue
friends.
units
Teasing.
were guys
4
in
times
Jeeps
now.
with
4
M4s,
times.
Yeah.
well trained. You know, that's a search and rescue. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, that's cool. And I talked to some of those guys. We were at a conference there in Arizona once. Yeah, that's the model right there.
Yeah.
Every sheriff in the country should have a posse like
So
Sheriff Joe.
talk more about that.
Yeah, so when Sheriff Joe had his posse, 3,000 man posse, this was during the Obama administration, and they were targeting him. But it made it a lot messier for them to try to come in and do a raid on Sheriff Joe or anybody else around him when they got a 3,000 man posse to mess around with. Think about it. That changes the equation.
Yeah.
Just reality, you know. So,
A lot of loyal people that were around him.
yeah. And that's the model. That's like because like Sheriff Mack used to be on my board of directors for Oath Keepers.
Oh, man.
And he was
I forgot
on
about
it
Mac.
when he started CSPOA.
Yeah.
There, for a long time there were like 2 sister organizations. We do conferences and speaking tours together. In fact, last time we were in Fredericksburg, which we're speaking tours with that. But, you know, I think the sheriffs are the next best thing. That's why I went and visited your sheriff here with your dad, or over there in Montgomery.
Is that Rand?
What's that?
Was it
Rand,
at
yeah.
the time?
Rand
Henderson?
Yeah, it was Rand Henderson, right. And, you know, because the message to the sheriffs is that unless and until the politicians revitalize the state militia in every state, you guys are the next stop. It's like you're a county-wide elected official, you're the supreme law enforcement officer in your county. You can fill that void by having a really aggressive or really resilient, what's the right word? By having an effective posse. You can fill the same shoes. All the guys that would be in the militia can be in your posse.
How did that sheriff?
Well, he told us that
Take
because of the unique structure in Texas, that he was constrained, his budget was constrained by, I guess it's the county judge or the county commissioners.
I think it's a county commissioner. in
Right.
Texas.
So he said that, but he said one thing he did have is a search and rescue unit that he could do whatever he wanted to with. So that was how he would skin that cat. Instead of starting an overt posse, he would just beef up his search and rescue. So the last thing he told us is just bring me the volunteers, you guys vet them, and I'll insert the more squared away ones. We recommended that we do this. We have a Montgomery County Volunteers. This is kind of a brainstorm between us and the sheriff, me and your dad and the sheriff. We'll start a Montgomery County Volunteers, where we would bring people in as a non-government volunteer organization, and then he would siphon out the most squared away guys to be in the search and rescue unit. So like Sheriff Joe, he'd have a very robust and effective search and rescue. But then I guess there was some kind of political conflict of interest that came about. Your dad told me later it wasn't going to be able to happen because of some kind of politics.
Yeah.
I'm not sure maybe you can tell me what that was about. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't. Him and Rand had a big falling out
Okay.
at some point. So it just. I think he was a big talker. Is Rand still there?
Rand, no, he's out.
No, he's out, yeah.
Doolittle took
Didn't he?
his place.
What's that?
Doolittle? Was that Doolittle that guy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I went to an event a couple weeks ago with Doolittle there, and he was giving a state of the county or whatever, and he's off. Dude, he's off to a great start. He's got some good.
At the Ducks Unlimited dinner.
Yes.
Came up to us? Okay.
Yes.
Is he related to the famous duo from World War II?
No, yeah, no, actually he is.
Well, if he was.
He actually is.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. He is related. He sure as heck is. It's his great uncle or something like that.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember his
That's a
little,
pretty good
Yeah.
family heritage.
little guy.
Yeah, yeah, he is related. But
So who in the state of Texas? I mean, I imagine you've talked to a lot of sheriffs. Who's probably one of the
It's
best?
been a long time since I've been plugged into that. So, I don't know, that's what you need though. You need someone that, like anyone in office, I always said this, that you should never support someone for office unless they've proved up. They put themselves at personal risk. You have to be able to look like Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy Jr. now. You've got Kash Patel, Steve Bannon to an extent, was willing to go to jail. Peter Navarro, you've got people that are willing to face, General Flynn, guys are willing to face the music and take the heat and prove that. That's what you need around you. That's what President Trump needs around him. And for any office, if I can't look at his past or this person's past, him or her, and see where they stood on principle to their own harm, then forget it. I don't want to talk to them. Yeah.
At least from the last time you were plugged in, who in the state of Texas would you say was?
Well, it's been so long, I just can't remember. That was the last time I talked to a sheriff in Texas with your dad, with Sheriff Anderson. Yeah.
So how did you and my dad meet?
That's a good question. I think it was through Greg Smith
Greg Smith.
and Mr. Cook, a really old gentleman who owns the cable company there in Houston. Mr. Cook.
The last thing I remember when my dad first heard about you, and he was telling me, "You heard of Stewart Rhodes from Oath Keepers? You ought to check them out." I said, "Yeah, Dad." That was so I sent him a couple of clips of interviews with you and Alex going all the way back,
Right.
and from that time point. So
Yeah, because right after I started Oath Keepers, I was on Alex pretty quick.
yeah.
And to Alex Jones' credit, he's been very, what's the right word?
Consistent.
Yeah, consistent and accurate. He's about 95% right. He on occasion exaggerated things, and on occasion he said things that kind of came back to bite him in the rear end.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, 95% of the time, he's right. Yeah.
Well, and we, I was telling this, I forget when I was talking about this, but a lot of the stuff he's been proven right about, he's still saying a lot of stuff that people are doubting.
Right.
And it's funny, and it's funny to joke about, but if that's true, if a lot of the stuff, well, not if, I mean, my personal opinion is,
It is
a
true.
majority, if not 100% of it is true.
Right.
You don't get to laugh about that as a joke for too long when it starts coming to fruition.
Right. So if he's 95% accurate, which I think he is, then yeah, you should take everything he says and say, okay, we need to accept reality, like Patrick Henry said. Better to know the truth and provide for it than to grasp and not the illusory shadow, phantom of hope.
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument to be made. If Alex Jones wasn't out there with this show, we wouldn't know probably about half of this kind of stuff out there.
Yeah, he's definitely a trendsetter. That's why I've always defended him. I've had people in my own organization like, "You gotta stop going on Alex Jones. You should look bad because he's everyone thinks of this of him." I was like, "Look, man, he's willing to say things that others won't say, and he's been right."
He's been consistent with it too.
So I'll be on the show Monday.
And
Looking forward to seeing him again.
are you gonna be? You're gonna be in
In
studio.
studio,
too.
yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah.
Cause he, man, I'm telling you, whatever he's doing, he's.
Oh, right now?
I heard he started working out with Joe Rogan's
Okay,
trainer,
There you go.
and then he's taking all the supplements he
It's
sells.
probably
and he's-
testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah, probably.
That's cool.
That's
Hey,
probably a lot of it.
Rogan's honest about that. He's
Oh,
he's
yeah.
doing that. I guess he's doing human growth hormone. So.
A lot of the stuff that we were told a long time ago not to go away from, and it's just like anything in the
Not to
medical-
go away from.
or to go away from. So
Right.
things like even something as basic as creatine and little kinds of things like that.
Right.
There's studies show it now. Like your grandma and grandpa should be taking creatine. It's not some
Well,
some gym bro, kind
It's
of
in
topic.
red meat. You get enough red meat, you get a pretty good dose of it.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see the segment on Alex Jones' show.
It'll be fun because I went there right out of the gate. He interviewed me. He had me on really quick when I first launched Oath Keepers. That was a big boost for us. So that helped for sure.
So how many at the peak of the organization? How many members would you say? were-
40,000.
40,000.
40,000
Wow.
dues paying members at one time. So I think altogether, we probably had 60 to 70,000 total members. You know, some people join for a year, they drop off and come back later. But yeah, 40,000 active at one time. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's one.
A quick word from our sponsors. Orcus Firearms is a proud sponsor of the Defiance Daily Show. We carry all brands of firearms and ammo. Ammo by the box, case, or pallet. Hot babes not included. Call Dodd today at 832-267-5756. Tell him Roberts and Pruitt sent you for a special discount.
My name is John Boucher. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Party. I was also volunteer of the year for the state party, and I served on a couple of committees there. I chaired the Committee on Criminal and Civil Justice, and I served on the Rules Committee. I'm running against Will Metcalf for the Texas House. I really appreciate your support.
Global Credit Repair Network. If your credit score took a hit due to Bidenomics, call 800-635-1105. Begin your journey today. Let Scott assist you with improving your credit score quickly and easily. Call 800-635-1105. Tell Scott that Roberts and Pruitt sent you.
Defiance Press and Publishing was founded almost 15 years ago by Mr. David Thomas Roberts and has grown into an international voice for freedom. Defiance Press has published numerous bestsellers by award-winning authors, including Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Daniel Miller, Blaine Pardo, and Patrick Byrne. Today, Mr. Roberts has passed the torch of his incredible legacy to his son, Travis. Travis Roberts is boldly carrying the torch of liberty into the future for those brave souls who understand that freedom is much more than just a word. Now back to our interview.
Capitol police officer who's famous for putting a MAGA hat on his head
Yep.
to have better relations with the crowd and be able to move through the crowd, which was pretty smart, actually.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a scepter of authority among MAGA people. So, but he walks up to Mike Nichols and his buddy, and he says, "Hey, are you two Oath Keepers?" Because I think they were either shirts or hats that said Oath Keepers on them. And they said, "Yeah," and they showed him their retired police badges. And he said, "Can you help me?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "I've got officers." This is all on video because some videographer was running through the crowd and just happened to see this and latched onto him. And he says, "I've got officers." Trick Johnson said, "I've got officers inside the Capitol who want to come out." There were a bunch of guys dressed in riot gear inside the Capitol. They were exhausted at that point. They wanted to get out the east side. And he said, "Can you help me?" And Mike Nichols and his buddy said, "Sure, we can help you." And so they went up through the crowd, and he borrowed the officer's bullhorn. Mike Nichols used the bullhorn, said, "Hey, Oath Keeper's coming through," and he went right through the crowd, part of like the Red Sea, everyone knows who we are. And they let them inside the Capitol. He went inside, and he's on video inside on the security cameras, organizing these cops to get them out, and he leads them back out down the steps. All of that, none of that was allowed to be shown to the jury. We couldn't show the jury that, and Mike Nichols came into D.C. to testify. He was right there waiting for him to testify, and the judge would not let him testify. The judge said, "That's not relevant." Because he wasn't with me, like right next to me on that
I
day.
did.
When all the video that they were showing from the government side doesn't have you in it.
Right.
You know?
But they did show, he did roll relevant a video of a confrontation happening in Louisville in August of 2020 with Black Lives Matter activists and radicals streamed into a parking lot to confront us as we were getting ready for our duty guarding a gas station there. And we successfully guarded the gas station. They had threatened to burn down. One of the clerks at the gas station had shot and killed an armed robber. So all the Black Lives Matter, they don't care whether the guy's trying to rob you or not.
They were just being racist.
Yeah, so now your fist must burn. So a lady owned that gas station, and we promised her we would protect it, and we did. But as we're getting ready we're in a parking lot at a hotel, guys are getting suited up, getting all the gear on. They come rushing in, and it's like young thugs up front with guns in their, like visible guns in their belts, right, handguns. And then a bunch of lefty cameramen recording this, waiting for
Waiting for something.
yeah, waiting for something to happen. So, and they showed that video, and we're all cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
The one guy runs up, he's like, to me, he's like, you know, Black Lives Matter, right? And I said, all lives matter. He's like, you know, he's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And one of our guys is, you know, older, retired Army Ranger. He's on a friggin' semi-automatic shotgun, and he's just like, you know, if they'd have gone for their guns, they'd have died.
Yeah.
Like, it's not what we want. It's not why we were there. So we stayed very cool. They just screamed and yelled in our faces, then they finally left. But they showed that video to the jury. That was somehow relevant. But the video of an Oath Keeper cop on the steps of the Capitol, escorting police out of the Capitol on that day was not relevant.
That incident, wouldn't that have happened how many years prior to that January 6th date?
Which one?
During the, when y'all were all cool and the people.
Oh, that was that prior summer.
It was the prior
2020.
summer,
Yeah.
The summer of love.
August 2020.
The summer of love.
The summer of
That's
love,
what it's
like
called.
buddy
The
love.
summer of love.
The love, like buddy
Well,
love.
I mean, here in Texas, we all experienced that. We had Antifa coming out of Dallas, trying to give them the Granbury, for example, where I was living, and they went out into small town Texas on purpose to try to intimidate Red America.
Yeah,
That's what
try
they're
to
trying
get a
Didn't
reaction.
they
Didn't
kill
work.
a couple there in Dallas?
What's that?
Didn't they kill a couple?
They killed some officers in Dallas, yes.
No, a couple, like a girl and a boy, a couple.
I don't know.
I don't remember anything like
You don't
that.
remember them being beat to death?
I know they rioted. There was that one guy that got beat. I don't know if he died or not, but the young kid that had a sword, and they just swarmed him and.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we got Luther's shot. That's something we did during that. And they wanted revenge on her. I don't know why they thought that was necessary, a part of Black Lives Matter, but they wanted to burn down Shirley Luther's store or shop, her hair salon, because she dared to open her hair salon. during
Oh,
the
yeah.
COVID.
Remember that?
Yeah.
She's now elected.
That's great. She's awesome. Yeah, when I first saw what she did, I drove from Granbury up to Dallas just to get my haircut to support her. But,
Did she
it was
give you
great.
that haircut there? Because that
Yeah,
was
she
pretty
was there.
Still
simple.
hasn't grown back.
It still hasn't grown back,
So,
has it?
look at that.
Yeah.
See what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
What,
But her staff was really nice.
Yeah.
how long would it take you to explain all the stuff you weren't allowed to show to the jury?
Well, the big things are, we couldn't show the video of Ray Epps. We couldn't even mention his name. We couldn't show,
That's so insane. I still can't believe he was a member,
it was a chapter leader for Arizona.
a chapter leading
That
member.
was back in like 2010, he was our state chapter president.
That is
Oh, it's out.
It's out, but no, you know,
That's what's so
Nobody
weird.
does anything about it.
Well, you'd think that they would love to have an oath keeper, even retired or whatever.
especially with what he was saying
Yeah,
that day.
like here's a smoking gun, and oath keepers on video, you know, and planning to go into the Capitol, encouraging other people to go into the Capitol. You think they would be sitting next to me at the trial, but nope. They covered that up. Or,
So what were your attorneys thinking when they're seeing what's not being allowed to show to the jury? What were they telling you? Were they just, in their practice, had they ever seen anything like that? I guess is what I'm asking.
no, I don't think they had, but how's the right way to say this? I don't think they did as good a job as they could have done. So
Yeah.
I'm very unhappy with my attorneys, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times their strategy seemed to be to placate the judge and become buddies with the judge and friendly and with the prosecutors.
Oh.
That's one of the hardest
Yeah.
things to do in those courtrooms is sit there and watch these attorneys
Over and over again.
on the defense team, you know, just have to kiss butt to the
Yeah.
government,
They
to
don't
the
have
judges.
to, but they think they do. I think they're going
It's
to
the code
somehow
of conduct
benefit.
in the court.
Kissing
you know?
butt is a court of conduct?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yeah,
because
'cause
you
won't
can't.
the,
They
the-
all say,
It's
I
not
don't
true.
want. We don't want to be sanctioned. The judge is going to sanction us. The judge is going to sanction us. We can't do that.
No. I used to be a lawyer, and I never had anybody tell me that. My obligation is to serve my client and do justice.
Yeah.
And their obligation is the same way, you know.
So is it really hard to find lawyers that?
Lawyers, I mean, this is like a conversation I had with Guido Calabresi when I was a student at Yale Law School. I can mention that, but the biggest compliment he ever gave me was he said, you've got two things that most of the Yale students are brains like computers, very, very intelligent. He said, you have two things most of them don't have. He said, you have courage and creativity. That's what he told me. Those are rare commodities among law students. You know,
So what kind of kicked off you wanting to start Oath Keepers? Was there a moment?
Well, yeah, because it was like Yale, when I was a student at Yale Law School, I wrote a paper on enemy combatant status being applied to American citizens. You know, that's the idea that if you're labeled a terrorist that the president can now put you in a category that you would normally reserve for a foreign enemy in wartime. In the war on terror, the doctrine came out that, well, if you're accused of being a terrorist, you no longer get right to a jury, no longer get a civilian trial. You're now put in this category of a military enemy in the laws of war. You can be tried by a military tribunal, held in military brig. And did that to two American citizens. One was Yasser Hamdi, the other one was Jose Padilla, both Americans accused of aiding Al-Qaeda. So, but the mere accusation alone strips away all your rights.
Right.
That just, it was obviously not right. So I went back and looked at the treason clause in Article 3. That's what you do with an American accused of making war on his own country or aiding the enemy in wartime. It requires extra protections to witnesses to the same overt act or confession in open court. Because the founders knew what it was like. They were accused of being traitors, right? Right. So they knew what it was like to have that taint put on you. They wanted extra protections. But, politicians and judges being what they are, in the Civil War, Lincoln, in a desire to have less restraint on his ability to punish Northerners he thought were sympathetic in helping the South, they just ignored the treason clause, and he held people in military detention. Way beyond, everyone knows about the habeas suspension, but then Congress, he suspended habeas corpus, and then Congress passed a habeas suspension statute, and it said he could hold him for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, he has to either indict or release. That's what they passed. Well, Lincoln ignored that. He held people way beyond 30 days. Oh, yeah. And he used the excuse that, well, they're enemies in wartime, so therefore I can hold them as prisoners of war. Yeah. And I can try them in a military tribunal.
And what happened to a lot of those people during that time?
Well, some of them, about 15,000 were tried by military tribunal. 15,000 were held in the North without trial, right, indefinitely for years, and about 5,000 were tried by military tribunal. Yeah. And then some of them were executed, and one of them was slated to be executed. He was found guilty in his tribunal. Was named Milligan, and that's the case Ex parte Milligan, 1866, with the Supreme Court. Now, this is one of the examples of during wartime, everyone tends to just throw the Constitution in the trash. And when you have a wartime decision about emergency power like Korematsu, you wind up with a rubber stamp, just ridiculous rubber stamp of whatever the president wants to do. So this was a rare situation where they're adjudicating a case about emergency war powers, but they're doing it after the emergency is over, after the Civil War was already ended, 1866. Right. So the Supreme Court, in that case, put the genie back in the bottle and said that's unconstitutional. He's obviously entitled to a jury trial because he's not a Southerner. Southerners were considered like a foreign country that had broken away, right? They would negotiate what do they call it? Ceasefires. They would negotiate ceasefires, exchange prisoners, and you had expectations in the laws of war that you're going to treat each other, fairly. It made some sense because the South had broken away, become their own country. Northerners, though, who were still part of the United States, they had a right to a jury trial. That's what the court said. Right. Mr. Milligan was not part of the South. He was not in the South. He was a Northerner living in the North. He had a right to a jury trial. So the Supreme Court put the genie back in the bottle. And who pulled it back out of the bottle, do you think? Think of the next president that might do that. Who do you think it was? That pulled it out and said, okay, we can use the laws of war against American citizens. We don't care about your citizenship.
I don't know.
FDR. World War II. And the same court that gave us Korematsu gave us Ex parte Quirin, because you had two U.S. citizens who were of German descent who had gone over and joined the fight with Germany because of their ancestry. They came back on a U-boat and were coming ashore to be saboteurs, and they got caught by the FBI. And they put them on trial, or they held them in military detention, and were getting ready to put them on trial.
So,
and the court rubber stamped it and said, yes,
right,
what matters is what you're accused of. The court said, if you're accused of violating the laws of war, then you have the laws of war apply to you. That's a jurisdiction that applies to you. And if you're not accused of the laws of war, then you sort of remain under civilian jurisdiction. So that's the precedent that the Bush administration reached back to, all the way back to World War II, and said, okay, ex parte Quirin. That means that, and this is a declared war against Germany, right? It's bad enough in a declared war.
Right, the declared war you did. Now it's the war on terror.
That's the war on terror. Well,
the war on COVID. The war, all these wartime scenarios are never about the actual. It's a tactic of trampling the rights, basically. It's just it's a wartime scenario of excuses.
Well, they take an already wrong interpretation of the Constitution.
Thank you.
There's just some kind of a loophole All they do, if they declare war on a country and accuse you of aiding that country, they can hold you in military tribunal or military detention. They took that and said, okay, if the president determines that you or anyone in his staff, because what winds up being a functionary inside the executive branch, if they determine that you are a war, you're a opponent in the war on terror, they're going to hold you in military detention. That's what they did with Jose Padilla and Nasser Hamdi.
Jesus.
So you just basically they can do that to any American. That was the claim. And the Supreme Court, and that's what I wrote about at Yale. It was called "Solving the Puzzle of Enemy Combatant Status." I'll send you a copy of it. But that won the best paper for Bill of Rights, like a university-wide. I didn't know the professor did it, but Owen Fisk, my supervisor for that analytic paper, he entered it into the contest and it won that year.
Damn.
2004.
So, and after these, and especially after you're going through this, you know, you're having to beat the rap of just the label itself and the way the courts go after you and everything like that.
Right.
A lot of these folks that do get out of it, such as yourself, and you're not fully out of it, because how long do you think it's going to take you to repair your life completely? After
I mean, I'm probably going to bounce back faster than most guys, but like I've got no money,
right?
you know, but I have my integrity.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so.
And a
got my
lot of
heart.
these guys, I mean, we were talking earlier about these terror plots and these arrests that are happening. Most people never get their lives back. A lot of them. Most of them don't.
Well, a lot of guys, like Joe Biggs, couldn't get an apartment. He went to rent an apartment, and the woman found out he was J6er, and she's refused to rent to him. You know.
What's the status on Joe Biggs? Have you talked to him
Well,
lately?
he's like I am. He's one of the 14 that were commuted only. You know,
He was commuted on. That's
yeah,
right.
there's
we were
14
talking
of
about
us.
that earlier.
Joe Biggs is one of them. Dominic Pizzola, Marine Corps veteran. Joe Biggs, 82nd Airborne veteran. Pizzola is a Marine Corps veteran. And Kenny Harrelson, my co-defendant, is an Army veteran. A lot of us are veterans. Who else?
So
Ethan, that's right. Ethan Nordine.
can't even get an apartment or anything. Where's Joe Biggs at now?
I'm not sure, but I know we're all in the same boat. The big problem with being commuted only is that all of us, the most dangerous thing for us is that we are a convicted seditionist.
Right.
So this is conspiracy. That's gonna show
You're
up.
still convicted.
When you're pulled over or a cop runs your plates, he's gonna see that. It's gonna be domestic violent extremist, and it's gonna say probably something about, here are the convictions. So this is conspiracy. So in his head, he's thinking, oh, this is a really bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
It's
because
very
now
dangerous.
you got that label there. You can't carry a gun, can't do any of that kind of
Right,
stuff.
right.
What
And that's
is-
the biggest way to entrap us too, or get us, is have some, like we talked about earlier about ghost guns. All they need is some informant to say, I saw him with a gun, and that's all they would need to railroad you through a prosecution and put you back in prison.
Oh yeah,
False
I mean,
accusation. Yeah.
You can just rile up a bunch of homeless people and say you want to go join Al Qaeda, and that's enough to do stuff on its own. In your legal opinion, what kind of recourse do you have to try to push for a pardon? How do you get that?
Oh, it's not a legal matter. It's just a matter of reaching President Trump's ear. I think if I had like 5 minutes alone with him, he would pardon all of us. Because the argument I would make is that presumption of innocence in this country means that everyone's presumed innocent until proven guilty in front of an impartial jury, as it appears, in a fair trial, in front of the judge who's also impartial, who's enforcing your constitutional rights. None of that happened for any of us at all. And I would also tell him that all of us that were accused of seditious conspiracy, you know, we didn't commit any seditious conspiracy. There's no plot to take over the government. It's an insult to my competency.
Right.
It's an insult to Joe Biggs' competency and
Right.
Pizzolla's competency, the veterans. If we really wanted to take over the Capitol, we'd have taken the Capitol over.
Yeah.
But we didn't. That's not why we were there.
So what's the there's been a lot of, and I know nothing about the subject, so that's why I'm asking you. You got a legal background. What's the difference between just a regular jury and a grand jury?
So the grand jury is the one that decides whether or not you should be indicted. And then the petite jury, the trial jury, is the one that actually tries you.
Okay.
Right. And, you know, that's the problem in our system is that grand juries really, the old saying goes, a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich because they only hear what the prosecutor says. The prosecutor can actually, and does lie. They lie all the time. They have people get on the stand and lie to the grand jury, and no one ever holds them to account.
When did
never
grand
heard of a
juries
judge
start
ever.
in America?
Well,
Is that
from
always-
the founding.
It started?
But it's the jury, both the grand jury and the petite jury, their roles have been perverted and have been turned into rubber stamps. Like a jury, for example, like with nullification, you put a jury nullification, right? So the Supreme Court, I forgot what the case was, but they said, yes, the jury has this power to judge the law as well as the fact. You can go back to the Ziegler trial for free speech in the time of the colonies. You know, the jury can set aside the law. The jury can acquit you even in the face of the law. Even if you violated what the law says is wrong, the jury can acquit you anyway. So the Supreme Court recognized that, yes, the jury has this power to thumb its nose at the law and do what it wants. But the court doesn't have to tell the jury about this power. That's what they said. So they kind of split the baby. So what judges do is but the judges don't only not tell you you have the authority to judge the law as well as the facts and acquit in the face of the law as well as the facts. The judge not only does not tell you that, he in fact lies to you and tells you you must follow his instructions on the law. They tell the jury you're only here to be a fact finder to find whether or not this person committed.
So you got
these
convicted from
facts.
a grand jury then?
Not convicted in front of a trial jury.
A trial jury.
So a grand jury indicted me without my knowledge. They just, the prosecution has free reign to show the grand jury what they want to show. The defendant doesn't even know it's happening. Has no right to be there. You can't have a lawyer there. You can't be there.
Everybody started with the magistrate judge. So the magistrate judge is part of that process, deciding whether or not there's going to be the charges.
Okay.
And then they're moved. So if you pull up everybody's case in the system, in Pacer or whatever, you're going to see that these cases they started with the magistrate judge, and then
in D.C.
Yeah, and then and then once it was decided that they were going to be charged, then it moved to the petite jury.
To a grand jury in D.C.
Well, yeah,
So-
but after that, it went, after that whole process, then it goes to the other, yeah.
So the grand jury in D.C., they convene a grand jury in D.C. to indict us.
So
Multiple
how are
grand
grand
juries.
juries selected?
That's a good question.
But they're not always in DC, right? So
No, but in this case there was. This was.
Because there were some people who their magistrate judge was in a whole nother state.
I
But
think
they're federal judges.
But I think for all the D.C. cases, that's why we're tried in D.C. They asserted jurisdiction over it because that's where it happened, where J6 happened. So it was, I believe, it was all grand juries in D.C. that indicted all of us.
I think so.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I'm
that's fine.
pretty sure it was federal courts in the states where they were arrested, because I know people who went through that
No,
whole
yeah, I was
process,
arrested.
and then it's moved to the DC courts.
I was arrested in Texas, and the first magistrate I was brought before for arraignment and for the detention hearing was Kimberly Priest Johnson in Dallas.
Yeah.
She was supposedly conservative, and that was when I had my first detention hearing. But
So
the
that's
grand
how some
jury,
people didn't end up getting
but the grand jury was out of D.C.
incarcerated.
The grand jury was out of D.C.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
some
how-
people got pretrial release because they had a more conservative judge in the state where they were living. So what happens is the magistrate judge has your first detention hearing, decide whether or not you're going to be given pretrial release. And then after that, the government can appeal it to the judge in D.C. And the same goes for you. If you're denied release by your magistrate judge, then you can appeal that to the trial judge in D.C. So both sides get two bites at the apple. So in my case, Kimberly Priest Johnson decided to deny me pretrial release, even though all I had was speeding tickets. She still bought the government's argument that I'm somehow so dangerous that I should be kept in pretrial detention. So then I appealed it to Meta, but it's a foregone conclusion that Judge Meta in D.C. is going to deny you too.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me.
So what's the process of a grand jury selection? How does that work?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not up on how they do it currently, but I mean, I think it's beyond doubt that in D.C. the prosecutor is going to make sure the grand juries are you're not part of the selection process.
Right.
You don't know who's being put on that grand jury. You don't have a right to challenge them. So what are they going to be like?
Is there
What do you think?
ways to find out who?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there is. But I'm not up on all that because I did practice in D.C.
So you talked a little bit about what had happened with the solitary confinement, how you're able to get through that. What were, I think you mentioned this earlier on the show, what else are we hearing now that you're hearing about what the people who were in prison went through as far as the obvious torture?
Well, it depends on where you're at. I mean, solitary confinement itself is considered torture. Our
Right.
State Department considers, whenever the government's doing it to us, to American citizens around the world, they complain and they condemn it as a form of torture. Because it is. You're being denied.
Well, weren't there cases, and there was allegations that some weren't being fed properly, malnutrition type of campaigns
it depends on where you were. Like I know that in Alexandria jail where I was at, the food was horrible.
Yeah.
It was all soy. It was just crap. Bologna sandwiches and peanut butter sandwiches or soy. looks like a soy patty shaped like a chicken, or a soy patty shaped like a cow. It's the same crap, just a different shape, you know. It was really kind of creepy.
Like not actual meat, you were given soy patties?
Yeah, soy patties, yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. So trying
Soy
to
patties
feminize you while you're in there too.
Right, soy patties and then, you know, cheap carbs. So like
Man.
grits, oatmeal, and then, you know, some rice maybe with a soy patty. Yeah, maybe some beans.
Yeah, there was allegations too. Some of these guards were pretty nefarious in some of their practices. And you were mentioning earlier, there's still some that are in there now.
There's 4
That,
guys that are still being held.
And under what pretense? What's the
Well, their
what's the
argument is that like the one, so Jeremy Brown's a good example. J6 charges in D.C. a misdemeanor for being on restricted grounds because on the grass of the Capitol. That was a misdemeanor charge. But then that judge in D.C. ordered a search warrant of his home in Florida.
Oh my God.
And then on the way in, they turned the cameras off, just like in Mar-a-Lago. Very much, it's a parallel to having the Trump.
Yeah.
He was charged in D.C., charged in Florida, right? Same thing here. So when they raided his house in Florida, this is what's unusual. Usually they go to the magistrate in Florida. It'd be the magistrate in the Central District of Florida who would decide to issue a search warrant. In this case, the judge in D.C. ordered the search warrant, which helps because it shows that it's obviously it's a J6 case.
Right.
So when they raided his house in Florida, they found 2 grenades. They charged him in the Central District of Florida, tried him down there for that, found him guilty of having these grenades. And now they're saying, well, that's not a J6 related case. Because President Trump's pardon proclamation said, I'm pardoning them for any case related to J6, any offense or related to J6. And so now they're trying to, you know, they're playing it both ways. Oh, we wanted to use J6 when we were trying him in Florida. We want to talk about J6. But now that he's been convicted, that's not a J6 case.
Yeah.
So we're not going to respect President Trump's pardon. That's what they were doing.
So even though the sentence is commuted and he's, I mean,
No, he was pardoned. He was
it-
pardoned.
He was pardoned completely, and he's still in there though.
No, he got out yesterday.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
he's
he
out.
finally
He's
got
out
out.
now.
So
Just yesterday
yeah,
though.
just yesterday, right? How long has it been now? You know,
It's been over a month.
Yeah. So that's what they were doing. Is and there's still other guys in the same boat, felon in possession of firearms. A couple of them were like that. But you know, it's fruit of the poisonous tree. Why were they even searched in the first place?
Right.
Because they were J6.
I mean, a grenade.
2
Is
grenades.
that because why couldn't you just? I mean, they couldn't find a fully automatic weapon. They had to go as far as to.
Sawed-off shotgun.
How
They
do
found a
you,
couple
like what are the odds
no
that some
serial
a
numbers
regular
on grenades,
citizen
are
getting
there?
a fucking
There are.
grenade? 2
Yeah,
of
I
them.
mean, I don't really know all the details, but I believe they're old grenades. He's a special forces veteran. If you wanted grenades, you can get the latest stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think they're 2 old grenades. Like
Okay,
old,
I guess you.
Like the old pineapple
Yeah,
World
yeah.
War II G.I. Joe.
I'm not
John
sure.
Wayne,
or the
Sans
stick baton
Iwo Jima.
grenades with the
Oh,
can on
those
top.
are the German
The
ones.
German ones,
Yeah, those are
yeah.
those are the what are they
Oh,
called?
tomato
Those-
mashers?
Yeah, potato mashers.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, they're old. I think they're older grenades. But the point is, though, is that, you know, obviously, you know, that's a J6 case.
Right.
Whether you think he did it or not, they didn't search his house except for J6. So
Right.
now it makes it a J6 case. And all their pleadings.
Started with the misdemeanor and turned into 2 grenades.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
And really,
What
the whole
was-
thing was in retaliation for him
Well, of
not
course.
working with them.
right.
So, yeah.
And what type of term was he facing? What
I'm
was
not
he looking
sure.
at?
he
I'm
never,
not sure.
they never, I don't think he ever went to
Did he go to sentencing?
trial. And all he got was misdemeanors for
Well, he went to trial.
for the
He was
January
convicted.
6th one. But the Florida one, had he gone to,
I'm not sure.
I don't know that he
I
had.
think he went
or
to
maybe
trial.
he hadn't been sentenced yet
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's a good-
for
good
the
question.
DC one.
Well, the DC is misdemeanor.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Oh, that turned off to cool it off.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so there's a couple guys like that
In that one.
that are being held.
No.
But so the vulnerability for us that are commuted is, one, all you need is a witness to say, you know, I saw him with a gun, ghost gun. I know a lot of guys in prison with ghost guns. Just, you know, no gun found. The other problem is, like I knew another veteran, a Marine Corps veteran, he had gone to his father-in-law's cabin, and they made sure, because he's a felon, made sure there's no guns in the cabin. They missed an old single shot shotgun, like under one of the beds somewhere. And so the feds found that, and it's a strict liability offense. If there's a gun in the building, and even if you don't know about it, if it's not in a safe, it's considered
Oh,
in
you
your
gotta be
possession. Oh,
shitting
yeah.
me.
So he's in Virginia. Virginia declined to prosecute him for it at the state level, but the feds picked it up and said, oh no. Under federal case law, the mere presence in the building of an unsecured firearm means ipso facto that he's in possession. So he's in prison now for almost 7 years. Yeah. So that's the other thing, is that we could be set up.
You're talking about a gun legally owned. right?
Yeah, it doesn't, but if you're a felon though, you can't possess
Oh,
firearms.
right. I got you.
So you're the felon.
Well, how do they define possession?
Well, like I said, you're in the building with it, and if it's not secured, you're in possession under federal case law.
Why obviously?
Strict liability.
I mean, it makes a lot
No
of
It
sense.
makes a lot of
Makes
sense.
total
man.
sense.
Yeah.
No
It's a bold
intent
strategy.
required.
I'm in possession of that sign right there. I love that sign. It's my sign.
It's in the building.
It's in
It's
the
in the
building.
building, that's right.
It's in the
Yeah,
building.
I'm in possession of it.
I am too.
I love lamp. I could do movie lines all night long on
You
this.
can do it all night. You look a little tired, man.
Dude, I'm in my prime.
You-
He does his best when he's really tired.
Right, brother. I'm ready.
Clinky,
man.
clinky.
Clinky,
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 clinky.
clinky, clinky. Why, Wyatt? You're an oak. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Good stuff,
So
man.
yeah, that's the thing about, I mean, our prisons are full of guys that were railroaded through kangaroo court trials with just the testimony of some other person who's been coerced. Coerced confessions lead to coerced false testimony, lead to, kangaroo court, Alice in Wonderland trials where everyone's just funneled through. And conspiracy is the big, like I think one Supreme Court justice said that conspiracy is the darling of the prosecutor. They love conspiracy charges.
Yeah.
Because they could charge me and you with conspiracy, and guess what? Everything in my phone that I've said to somebody else
Subject to
is now
that
attributed to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what I said, and you have no knowledge of it, again, strict liability.
Yeah.
You're on the hook now, because they created the conspiracy just by charging the two of you. You're in a conspiracy together because they say so.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, it really is.
So there's a multi-pronged problem within the justice system, especially the criminal justice system. So you have law enforcement, whether it's municipal police officers, whether it's county sheriffs, deputies, constables,
Right.
state troopers, federal officers, ATF, just go down the list. There's all these different, and their job, a lot of them, is to arrest bad guys and to bring convictions and to, get back, which, okay, there has to be that component in there. But I think where we're at today, along with prosecutors who want to stuff their resume full of, I've locked up this many people.
Right.
Well, that should never, ever be any sort of a measure of accomplishment or
Oh, your
effectiveness.
conviction rate you're talking
Well, of
about.
course.
Well,
Yeah.
like you were saying earlier, when you were a cop, everyone was told you got to go out there and get five
Right, 5
traffic
tickets.
violations
Yeah,
that day.
and that's
right?
just totally against the Constitution. But
Right.
not one police officer,
Right,
not one. I was the only one in the whole city.
right.
You didn't read it. You never.
I
read
never
it.
wrote a damn ticket, and I used to take all
You
kinds
know
of
what,
shit.
Joe Bird,
He's the same way.
he was the same way.
He never wrote it.
I just,
Never
well, I
wrote a
didn't
ticket.
like writing
And
tickets.
Sheriff Mack was like that when he was a cop too.
I didn't like writing. I mean, if somebody did something really stupid right in front of me and everybody's watching, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to at least stop this
Right.
person. But where I worked, it wasn't. We weren't after. I worked in CUNY Homes government housing project there in Houston. I mean, we had too much crack and cocaine, rape, murder, and all this other kind of stuff going on. So we just didn't write tickets. wasn't interested in writing.
In the grand scheme of things, it seemed kind
Well,
of.
I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to pull this person on, maybe running late from work or running late to work, or they're trying to get home to their kids. They roll a stop sign, or they're 5-10 miles over the speed limit. They're not doing anything really egregious. They're not doing anything I wouldn't do. They're, stop them maybe and just say, hey, I patrol this area.
So you're thinking like a peace officer.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they don't want you to be a peace officer.
No.
They want you to be a land pirate.
Absolutely.
Land
No.
Yeah, that's what they want, right? They want revenue.
It is another form of massive taxation that brings in revenue for the city, the county.
That's why I call you a land pirate.
And I'm telling
You're
you,
taking booty.
it is a big deal. And unfortunately, and not all, and you can't blanket every person in any profession, but
But
Isn't
you're the
it-
only cop. That's my point.
You're
I
right.
was
You're
the only
He's
one.
the only. He's the
I
exception.
was
only
the
one,
only
right?
one.
You were the exception to prove
They
the
made,
rule.
listen, they made
Joe,
examples
only
of me.
one.
Yeah.
They made
Probably the only
examples of
one.
me because they were like every other, and when I say every other cop, patrol officer. Okay, so there's lots of other cops and, narcotics detectives.
What do you think?
this
Well,
and-
the same mindset? That was my point in bringing that up. When those cops were put on the stand, to back up
Oh, yeah.
a traffic stop where they searched somebody or they got them for DUI.
Listen,
I saw it as a criminal defense attorney. I saw it in Montana. The cop would take the stand and he would say the same. It was like
No, it's a
creepy.
script.
It was a script.
You learn the
As I
script.
approached the vehicle,
Exactly.
I smelled an overwhelming odor of marijuana or overwhelming odor of alcohol. That gives them a pretext to search the guy and make him do the walk.
Some of my arrests were sometimes one of the things that we were, the suspect's head came in contact with my baton.
Things like that. Yeah.
That's how we would word it. That's how it was written in the report. And I'm talking about if something went down and you had to take, we had those types of situations. But that's the way you would write it. You wouldn't say, hey, I had to hit the guy because he was attacking me. He had a knife, and instead of shooting him, I decided to hit him with my stick.
Right.
You can't say that.
Why not?
So,
That makes perfect sense.
it makes perfect, but you can't say it. So the suspect's head came in contact with my flashlight or my.
I was attempting to illuminate the area.
Yeah, exactly.
And as I was illuminating it, his head came in contact
with.
3 times.
I drew my
with
weapon, and then
my-
his head came in contact with my bullet.
But this is a huge problem, and it's a huge problem with overzealous prosecutors and district attorneys, and because they think, because a lot of these are elected officials, and this is a problem. I don't really know how to get around it, but it puts people in a position where arrests and convictions are good, and people that get off or found not guilty is bad.
Yeah.
That is a huge problem.
I've heard cops jokingly refer to it as test-a-line. Oh,
As
I had
what?
to go and test-a-line.
Test-a-line.
I had to go test a lie. And they laugh about it.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
And
They get
that's
on
what
the
they're
stand, They say whatever it takes to get to justify the search warrant or to get the conviction.
Absolutely.
They're told what to say, to coach what to say, and they go up there and say it. That's what I'm saying. That,
They never speak in plain terms about the interaction.
No, they're lying on the stand. They're committing perjury.
Yeah.
They call it test-a-line. They're doing what's necessary to support the prosecution.
It happens a
And
lot.
it's a crime.
It is a crime.
If you commit perjury, that's a crime. And if the prosecutor is suborning the perjury, encouraging it and eliciting it from you, that's a crime too. It's called subordination of perjury. You're also committing the crime of conspiracy to commit perjury. But it's done all over the country every friggin' day.
Yeah.
It's done a lot. And the average citizen who just,
Has no idea.
they have no idea. And they're thinking, well, obviously, you wouldn't be in
Who's
jail.
found guilty?
Yeah.
Stewart, you wouldn't be in jail if you weren't guilty.
Right, yeah.
No, and I mean,
man.
and like you said, you met a lot of people in prison that you're like, this person shouldn't be here.
Right. So I've got another good one for you. Old man Kenny. So this is an old man, 76 years old. He is a felon, but what happened with him is he was living with a woman. They were common law man and wife. Her daughter had 2 children with this dirtbag, and the dirtbag was under suspicion of being a pedophile and exposing his children to pedophiles, like selling them for sex and drugs. So there was a restraining order against him pending his investigation for being a pedophile. Kenny and his common law wife are given custody of the children, protected custody. So that's the background. So he's protecting the kids. The woman's at someplace else. He's protecting the kids in the house, like a condominium. The dirtbag shows up with a shotgun in his hand and 2 of his buddies, and like trying a home invasion. Kenny takes the shotgun away from him and kills him with his own shotgun, which I call justice.
Hell
right?
yeah, man.
So then he takes the shotgun and the kids, puts them in his car, drives to his nephew's house, and because he's a felon, he's like, hey, just take the kids, take the shotgun, and he leaves. And then he goes and I think waits a few hours and turns himself into the cops. But he got rid of the shotgun pretty quick.
Yeah.
The local police at first investigated it as murder. When they figured out what really happened, they dropped the charges. They said, oh, this is self-defense, defense of others.
Yeah.
He's good. But then the federal court picked it up. The feds picked it up, felon in possession. And they said, well, sure, you have a defense of necessity, right? You have no choice. But the judge said, you dispose of the shotgun in a proper manner.
Oh, God.
What you
Of
should have
course.
done, instead of going to your nephew's house about 1/8 of a mile away, you should have gone to the nearest business to use the phone and call the cops, and then they could have found out that
Who
it
the
was
fuck is thinking
Yeah, how are
about
you-
this
how in
kind
the
of
world are you
shit
gonna know
when
that
you're
you're supposed to do
protected
something?
against a
Yeah.
home
Right.
invasion?
Well, where's that in the statute?
Yeah.
Where's the requirement that you dispose of the shotgun in a
That's-
certain way?
that's the
It's not
question.
there.
Right.
So he's second guessing a Monday morning quarterback. In other words, he just wants to put him in prison.
Yeah, because how do you get to a mindset where you would even want to convict somebody of anything? After you read,
that's how these judges
you're
are.
a judge, you see this story, you understand exactly, but you still
You're
want to
supporting
find
the
a way.
prosecutor. And why do the prosecutors want to do that? Because they want another notch in their belt. One more conviction for them. I think most of them are sociopaths. They don't give a damn about
No,
anybody.
This old man Kenny,
Listen.
how long was he?
He was still there when I left.
How long was he
I
there
think
already?
I think he did 8 years.
Oh
He was about ready to
my
get out. And here's the thing.
you-
He has no teeth. He said for 4 years he's had no teeth. He's been waiting for teeth in the Department of Bureau of Prisons. They've been slow walking, giving him teeth. He's about ready to get out in April with no teeth. For 4 years, no teeth.
If he wanted to transition,
If
though, he would have been
yes,
put right to the front of the
absolutely,
line.
100%,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no lie.
I'm not even joking.
No, no
He would have
lie.
had
I'm not
hormone
joking.
shots. He would have been, if you want to
This
turn his
is,
Audi into an innie.
Like
Okay.
when I say the evil side to this is the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Right, yeah.
It's a systemic type
Well,
of
you read,
evil.
you read the
It's
Gulag
evil.
Archipelago,
Yes.
what he talks
Yes.
about, same thing.
Absolutely.
The
What's
secret police,
that?
the Gulag Archipelago.
Yes.
That's what Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the famous Russian dissident.
Classic.
It's like 3 volumes. It's all about
Everybody
this-
must read
this-
it.
And he called it the Gulag Archipelago because the Gulag is their word for prison. They called it an archipelago
The gulags,
because
yeah.
there's an island of prisons throughout the country. That's the archipelago, a secret islands chain that no one sees, most people don't see. They walk right by every day, but there it is. That's how it is with these jails in America. Your
That's
county
insane.
jails are used by the feds, and the feds are now increasingly federalizing state crimes. So like that guy, felon in possession of firearm under Virginia state law, oh, we're not gonna prosecute him. Feds pick it up, off they go.
When you say the feds pick it up, is that the FBI doing that?
That's the federal government.
Federal government.
So
that's-
hold on.
Yes.
Let me just try to wrap my head around this.
FBI is part of DOJ.
Yes.
They're their,
Okay.
they're
But-
their attack dogs.
And the DOJ is over the BOP,
Okay,
Right.
which just,
That makes,
the state, old man Kitty, review the case, open and
The state
shut.
would not
How does
charge
it
him.
get picked up by the feds? Do
Because
they
the
sit
other-
there and comb through records to
That's
see
the
who
problem
I
with
can
these-
convict?
That's the problem with these
Out of
joint
all
task
these
forces.
dismissed,
Yes.
like they
There
look at,
we go.
they
They're there.
basically grab the log of dismissed cases in the state and they go through it to see
No, they're
who
already
can we
there.
fuck over.
They're already there. That's why they have these joint task forces. You know, they've always had joint drug task forces, joint ATFs always right there with local police looking for any gun violations. Yeah.
What's the
you're thinking double
what was
jeopardy.
what was the justification for having a joint task force like that?
The war on drugs first.
Yes.
Then
Okay.
the war on
All
terror.
right, now-
Then the
okay.
war on terror.
There
See,
you go.
these are this is the minutia that
I mean,
I need to know. This is stuff I
Yeah.
just don't
Well,
know.
and the thing about it is, so when these law enforcement officers, or agents, or troopers, or officers, whatever they are, when they get creative and come up with it, they get rewarded for that behavior. This is what people
Yeah.
don't understand.
They're rewarded for it.
They're rewarded, they're encouraged.
When you say reward,
to-
they get
They
promoted.
get recognized, they get good letters in their file, they get better
That's why I
duties,
brought
they-
up at Solzhenitsyn.
Yes.
So in his first volume, he talks about how the secret police had a quota.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
You're expected to go out and get this many people and bring them in to the system. So he had examples of one lady, she's trying to find out where her sister went. So she goes to the secret police station and they told her to wait. She's sitting there waiting. And then they come and grab her and put her in a cell. Because she's right there. She's convenient. They just met their quota for the day.
Yes.
They just put her in there.
Oh.
Yeah. But she gets put in
Hang
the
on,
gulag.
hang on.
Yeah.
So
What
here's
the
another thing.
fuck?
No,
Yeah.
you have no idea. And
Hang on, I
again,
wanna get some of this.
here's the problem. Average, normal,
Sorry, I don't mean to have all these
everyday
cameras on you.
citizens truly believe in their heart of heart and their mind of mind. I don't have to worry about any of that because I don't break the law.
I've
I
done
don't.
nothing wrong.
I've
I
done
got
nothing
to
wrong, and they
hide.
don't understand. So here's the other thing.
Whenever the machine decides to grab you, then you're put into that category. You're put in that category of
Exactly.
bad guy. After that, you're on the
Your life's
conveyor belt.
ruined.
Oh no,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
you're
not there,
you'll
Bill.
never.
Okay, hang on. A lady goes and she's just reporting on her sister
No,
being
she's going to
missed.
find out about her
She's
sister.
looking.
Okay,
She's trying to find where my
but
sister
since she was
goes.
sitting there waiting,
She's here. We'll just put her in the cell, and it helps to meet the quota.
Yeah.
did they charge her with anything, or they just?
Well, yeah, they make up stuff. You know, she's a wrecker. She's
Oh, you can always come
conspiring.
up. Just hey, PI. PI was a public intoxication.
Really?
Because there's no breathalyzer, there's no sobriety test, there's no nothing.
Breach of peace.
It's just PI. The other thing is too, Law enforcement, you either get paid overtime if you have to work overtime, or you get what is called PTO. Other agencies might call it something different, but it's paid time off. So in other words, and most officers take that because you don't have to pay taxes on that. So that makes only sense. And so if you're, let's say, you don't have an extra job to work when you get off your shift today or this morning or this afternoon, and you're like, man, I got nothing to do. Well, all you do is you just go to your favorite drug court. You can go and find somebody to arrest at any time of the day. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily 100% innocent, but these people, and 99% of the time, they ain't bothering nobody. It's just a cop that wanted to get 4 or 5 hours PTO on the books. He didn't have anything to do after work, so he just goes near the end of his shift, pops somebody, puts them in the back of the car, requests overtime, supervisor, and now he's got 4 or 5 hours overtime, and some innocent, okay, not necessarily innocent, but we're not talking rapists, murderers, child molesters. They're just, maybe they're not, but now they're going to go sit in a jail cell because some cop wanted to get some overtime.
They might have had a warrant out. Or
they might have had a warrant out. They may
have
have had some drugs. That was the big one. Dude, you can always go and find somebody who's got a rock or some.
But the pretext for stopping and searching.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. And it's like, okay, you're saying that's not, you should let those people walk. No, I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is.
I will say this, that the war on drugs is, first of all, it's an absolute failure. It's not going to stop people from getting high.
Right.
There were guys getting high in prison all around me all the time. In every place I was at, guys were getting high.
Yeah.
And there were guys ODing. There were guys that had to hit them with Narcan, save their lives because they got fentanyl or whatever in the system. So that's happening all the time. You're not going to stop it.
Nope.
But what you are going to kill, though, you're not going to kill the drug use. What you're going to kill is the Bill of Rights.
Right.
So the Sheriff Max said a long time ago, and I think he's right, that the war on drugs has been the war on the Bill of Rights. Fourth Amendment is gone under the war on drugs. They've destroyed it.
This is where kind of the left side, when they were, before Trump got into office, and there was some good uncoverings, right, of everything from the housing crisis and all these. Nobody actually ever getting arrested for these loans that were being given to people. They just got their bonuses redirected or something like that. But then somebody on the corner, smoking some weed or something, goes to jail for like 5 years at a time or something like this. Then, yeah, it's not meant to. The war on drugs was never meant to capture any big funneling
Well, what
of
would be
drugs
the point
into the
of winning the
country.
war on drugs? You win the war on drugs, you lose all your toys. All the guys are confiscating.
Yeah.
Friggin'
Lose all the
motorcycles
toys.
and
You don't get to
Corvettes.
ship as much into the country, because
Source of revenue for the CIA. So one of our guys, an oath keepers, have been an undercover.
black budgets.
Right. So one of our guys was an undercover narcotics officer as a cop at the state level, and he said that he wanted these joint task forces, and he realized pretty quickly that he said he resigned because he realized the CIA is the biggest drug cartel in the world, and that's how they fund their black budgets.
Yeah.
They bring over
These
heroin.
are budgets you don't need to get approved by the government for any
Yeah,
of
there's
this
all
spending.
kinds of black money out there that they do what they want to with off the books budgets.
Some of that black money, for other things other than drugs, right? That's what we were talking about with the Epstein stuff, how he amassed his funds, and a lot of those probably, there's some black budget activity going on around that type of stuff.
At the end of the day, government is evil. I don't care if it's the U.S. government. I don't care what government it is. Government's freaking evil. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we have, every culture has their own thing. Every culture is good at something, every culture is bad at something. I think Western society, Western culture, I think as a group, one of the biggest mistakes we make, it just seems to be in the blood. You hear it all the time. Well, we need to pass a law. We need to pass a law. There needs to be a
need more
law.
regulation.
We need more laws,
yeah, because-
especially for the crime, for
Yeah,
the laws
no,
that are already on the
it's-
books that we're not enforcing.
Well, it's just
we just need more of those.
We need more, and it's like no. We need to take about 99% of the laws and get rid of them. And but this is a huge problem. It's like this overwhelming and
It is. Marine Corps battle.
Well, what is it? What's going on?
the guy.
The Marine Corps battle.
Oh, I was like, if there's a spider coming down,
Don't tread on me.
Yes.
Oh, well, you know what? One of the things that I discovered going through all of this, and is as far as the justice reform goes, the way that laws are written is meant for them to be able to be manipulated in the
Yeah,
worst ways.
leave
So,
it
so
open-ended.
the one that was the biggest one was just the assault on a police officer, because the way it's worded is it's like assault, hinder, impede. So if you get in their way, so all of these
Your
people.
head got in the way of my baton. You assaulted me.
So we had
The
all of these
suspect's
people
head
yelling,
coming in contact.
right before the inauguration. Well, we don't want to let these people who assaulted a police officer out. It's like if you had sat through these trials, or just even viewed all the video and seen what they were calling assault on a police officer.
Yeah.
We had a lot of cases where, like in the tunnel, where there was so much violence, and it was just a mess, and so much came out of that. But there were, here we have a woman on the floor, and two women who were, beaten in this tunnel, and you have people touching the shield on the police officer saying, "Help, help. This woman
that's
down here
assault,
is
brother.
dying."
That's assault.
It was assault. There was a huge sign, and I walked up right behind it, that people were carrying, huge metal sign that was used to press against police at one point. And I don't know how many people touched that sign.
Oh, and they got charged.
And they
Pass
got
through the
charged
crowd.
assault
Yeah.
with the police on a police
So
officer
you feel
for
some touch your head, you
touching
go
it.
like that, right?
It's like, I just
As it went
assaulted
by
an
them.
officer. I touched
Yes,
it.
yes,
I
and
touched
they
it.
had no idea what that was going to be used for.
And
They were touching it as it went
Average
by.
everyday citizens go, well, you shouldn't be assault.
Oh, God.
And
See,
that,
this
see,
is-
this is the
yeah,
problem.
I should have been there in the first
Yeah,
place.
shouldn't have been in
Shouldn't
the
have been
first
there.
place.
I got that within
You
my
shouldn't
organization.
care.
Oh, yeah.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Why
What
do
are
you
you
care?
guys
This
doing
is,
there?
You know.
this
What
is
y'all doing?
when we ask questions, how did Dan Crenshaw's, John Cornyn's, all these rhinos, how do they get elected? This is how they get elected. Unfortunately, we have a lot of voters out there.
Oh, remind me to
They're just
never
retards.
vote for somebody with a prosecuting background or that used to be a cop. or
Well,
anything
listen,
like that.
I'm not kidding you, man. These guys, and Stewart, you say it, and I don't, it may pass by some people. I hear you loud and clear, and you're right. These positions, these authoritarian positions, they are the light that these sociopaths and psychopaths, they are drawn to.
That's what they want.
Well, and
They
that
want
was-
it. They
that's-
feed. I mean, a normal person is not drawn to that.
Yeah.
A normal person sees that and goes, well, how can I best utilize that to help my community and
Well,
this and that?
a normal person doesn't want to be a politician.
No, a normal person doesn't.
You're living in a
But
fishbowl.
Go to
and
bed.
you're
these
being
people,
targeted
these
fast.
prosecutors and stuff like, I am telling you, and I don't care who they are, what they look like, by description.
ma'am.
Oh, good night, Rose.
Good night, Rose.
But it's the normal, average, everyday people are so oblivious to this until the day it touches them. And then
Yeah.
they don't, and then they
They're like,
don't,
oh, I didn't know it was this bad.
Yeah.
You had no idea.
and then they're in prison and they're meeting all these people that, why are you here?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, and we've got a problem in America. We have privatized prisons. We have compensated judges, prosecutors, law enforcement who are rewarded for locking people up, not for finding bad guys.
Yeah, even asset forfeiture is a big part of the
Yes.
the system. So I used to work at a gun shop in Vegas. I was a concealed carry instructor. During the day, I was parking cars at night. But there'd be cops working for Las Vegas Metro to come in, and they're rolling around on a new Harley or a
Oh,
Corvette.
listen,
That's all
they
stuff they confiscated from
Yeah,
somebody, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't think that's not, to me, well, the other thing is too, is that, and I know this is gonna drive some people crazy, and people can disagree with me if they want, but I believe this. I think cops are way overpaid. I just do. And here's the reason I say that. I think teachers are way overpaid. I think when you're drawing people into civil service based on monetary compensation, listen, do you know how many people out there would be a cop for volunteer? The best fire departments in the country are volunteer fire
Yeah,
departments.
I was in one, yeah.
Absolutely. People will do that job for free and they'll
At least
do it.
half the fire departments in the country are volunteer.
Absolutely. And so, when people hear this, say, oh, you're full of, it has been proven. The highest paid departments are also the most rife with corruption.
Yeah.
Same thing with teachers. The higher the pay, the more the corruption. And I don't know, a lot of people push back, but I'm just telling you, when you've got people going into those professions because of how much the benefits are, how much the pay is going to be.
And then once they're in there, they're more likely to go along.
That's why they're going to follow the orders.
Right.
And
They become a standing army.
I talk to people because I always wonder today, what person wants to go into law enforcement today? Because look at what you're up against. You make one mistake.
Well, now especially, yeah, you're done.
You make a mistake, a genuine mistake. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. You've been running, your adrenaline's pumping. It's dark. You don't know what's going on. You think you see a gun in the flash of a second. You make one mistake. You're either maimed, dead, in prison, or what's the other one? In other words, your life is over.
Yeah.
What kind of person goes, yes, sign me up for that one? Seriously,
Well, so that's true now. Well, it's partially true. It depends on who you shoot too, right?
right, well,
yeah.
yeah, but there's a lot, but what I'm saying
Like
is.
the cop in Indiana who killed the J6er, probably not gonna have any problems.
No,
No,
he ain't gonna
he
do
Because
it.
that's an evil terrorist, right?
Yeah.
Right, but I'm telling you, I've seen, listen, how I got through the 6 years that I was there without going to prison or something, I don't know. Because just stuff that happens. And I just wonder about people, because hey man, would you talk to my son? He's thinking about becoming a cop. I'll talk to him, but and you find out the reasons. They've seen the cop shows and they want to help people.
They
And
want to fight the bad guys.
and I'm like, okay, well, how do you think that works? How do you think that goes down?
Yeah.
What,
That's the problem, is they have an idealized image of it, just like the public does.
yeah, and they
That's
don't
intentional,
understand.
by the way.
And they
That's-
don't understand no matter how good of a cop they are. One mistake.
Well,
One mistake.
also, you're pressured to do things that, like you said.
Absolutely.
that are
Oh, and
wrong.
they will be.
Yeah.
You will be pressured to do things that you're going to go, and you're going to do it because you're paid so much money. Because you're not going to be able to go into the private
Or
sector.
you're in the thin blue line. Like, oh, hey,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
you saw the way it
Yeah,
really went down,
absolutely.
right?
And that is a
He was going for a gun, right?
That
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
huge deal.
Right.
Again, I'm not dissing. I'm not putting everybody. I know, some people will personalize and they'll go, "Oh, I'm a cop, or my uncle's
Brother,
a cop," and
uncle, yeah.
Yes, I get it, but I am.
You're offending me.
I'm telling you, I've seen it. I can still have conversations with law enforcement because I was a cop, so they'll talk to me. And I am telling you, we have a huge problem in this country. An enormous,
Well,
an
look at
enormous
COVID.
problem.
Look at COVID.
Yeah,
How many police officers, not all of them did, I know
No.
cops in Texas that did not, they
That's right.
quietly did not do it. Like the Raise the Bar gym
Yep.
in Granbury, Texas,
Yep.
that opened up again. I was there when that happened. And local cops just, they just use their discretion.
yeah.
Cops have discretion. They don't have to enforce all that nonsense.
That's
Right.
right there.
Right.
Cops have discretion.
So there were cops who quietly
Yeah.
did that around the country. But a lot of departments, they're on video enforcing ridiculous edicts, like arresting people walking down the beach by themselves, no one else
Exactly.
around them, because, well, you can't be out here, it's a COVID lockdown.
Right.
Yeah.
And they enjoy it. I'm telling you,
Well,
I
some
know
of
these
the-
people.
Doesn't
I
it's
know
kind of
them.
like the politicians gravitate towards that.
Oh, listen, that
You know,
bag's
these
in that
are-
gun.
These are, oh yeah.
Man, a lot of these guys were
Got a
bullied
little
when they were
power on
kids.
it. Oh, yeah.
A lot of female police officers. I work with female cops. Listen,
Little chip on the shoulder.
little chip on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Got always overplayed their hand. I never saw one occasion that really was. I'm like, yeah, this isn't good. It's,
What are you talking about? Like,
So here's the
hold
thing.
on. Can I ask a huge? Is there any way we can move into that room? Because all these cameras. Is that cool?
Yeah,
If we can mic up and just hang out. And
yeah, we can do that.
Oh, we do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Getting in the zone, Mark.
Dude, we
Mark
could
is
You're wide awake. I was thinking we're gonna have to wrap this up, man.
Dude, listen, man. I'm just.
I'm
getting
just
warmed-
trying to take
I'm just
advantage.
getting warmed up, man.
It's really kind of hot in here, though.
It kind of is. It's 80 degrees.
Is it really? No.
I love these boys. They're crazy.